Today we're having a conversation about the confrontational leader, the good and bad versions of confrontation. Let's talk about that.
You are watching the Beyond Sunday podcast.
You can't control their response, and that's a big risk. I mean, you set yourself up, and in one side you go, okay, am I gonna swallow the pill? That's unhealthy. But I think there is a really great opportunity, as we think about control, that you can say, I'm gonna actually sincerely take this before the Lord. I'm gonna release this. And, and I think there's a lot of ways it could come out. You could either look at the situation and go, hey, I didn't like Zach's response. And I may look at it and go, well, let me look at the instant replay. And you go, actually, it's how I started the conversation.
Yeah.
That kind of fed into that. So I can give some grace because, I started this issue. I need to let this go. And that may even stimulate me to go, I may have to apologize to you.
Right.
Change the entire
that's
dynamic.
A weird moment. You're like, I need to take this before the Lord because they made me mad.
Right.
And then you do, and you realize,
yep.
Oh, man, that was my fault.
Right. So you're starting with the thought of unhealthy confrontation. I'm going to swallow this, but no, I'm not. I'm going to take this before the Lord. And you end up with, I need to go apologize to them.
Isn't that true? Like, side note, that's how that works. When you are humble enough to take it before the Lord, you realize you had way more to do with it than you thought.
Yep. I have.
And it's so brutal every time. It's like, dang it, I could have swore this one was on them this time.
Right. I think
there may have been something that was, but I was driving.
I started this fight. And I think we've talked about it in previous podcasts. That I've had times where, in dealing with, just a marital tension issue, I was trying to be a really cool guy and thinking, you know what? I'm going to just really pray that I can forgive my wife about this. And the Lord goes, actually, I want to talk with you about your behavior. You're like, I wanted to talk about giving me a nice forgiving heart. And he's like, well, that's nice. We can talk about that too. But let's start why you're an idiot. And suddenly, instead of being forgiving, I need to go and ask forgiveness, and he flips that around. So I think he can do that with us. I think we can also become sympathetic and just have a heart for somebody else. Like I may be processing this and saying, you know what, Zach's had a really rough time. I know some things that are going on in his life. I know he's just really in a tough spot, and I know his heart. He didn't mean it. This is just circumstances speaking, and I can find a place where I do just forgive. And so I think there's those places where we go before the Lord and we can release it. That's great. Instead of swallowing the pill. But when we decide to confront and we're saying, I'm stepping into this place, we lose control. We can have our best intent. We can have thought about what it is I want to say, but I have zero control over your response. And that makes it feels a little risky at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something worth mentioning is the confrontational leader, like it's kind of used as a catchphrase to give us some context and a conversation starter. But the reality is, I would argue that we are all leaders, period.
Yeah, if you have influence over anyone, you're a leader. Yeah,
and
I would agree.
It may be children. You may be the head of a company. You may be just a team lead at Target. It doesn't matter what it is, what your scope of influence is.
Right.
But you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that truly has no influence over anybody.
And it may not come
capacity.
From your name tag, your job title, and your business card or anything else, but it may be in a peerage where you go, well, I'm not even the team lead. We're all here, but you may have your peers that look to you for some advice. They may go, hey, you've been around longer, but you may find yourself with informal leadership because of the influence you have with folks.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I think we all have this responsibility to learn and understand and grow in good confrontation.
Right.
And the reality is, like we talked about, it is really risky just because we can't control the response.
Right.
But what happens is when we approach it in a healthy manner, people begin to understand that it's okay, that we care for the better of whatever the situation, person, relationship is.
Right.
And it just shifts the entire relationship between boss and team, friend and friend, enemy and enemy. Like it
Okay.
really does shift everything if people understand and recognize that they're here to make this better.
Right.
They're here for the better.
Right. And I think that that thought brings us back to the question that you started the last episode with. We're just now getting around to it. But you started the last episode and you said, hey, when you're stepping into confrontation, what do you need to think about? And so I think this is a great opportunity then to think about, okay, we've talked about the bad side of it, the emotionally charged, the fearful, the I'm hurt kind of confrontational leader that is saying, honestly, it's from an unhealthy, I want to exact what I feel on you kind of confrontation, to the healthy one. And I think healthy confrontation is necessary.
Yep.
So if that's the case, what do we need to think about? What do we need to process then beforehand to do that well?
Yeah.
See how you started asking the question, volleyed it right back to
interview
you.
Turned around.
Bam.
It was feeling a little bit like an interview of sorts.
Yeah.
So I guess it's my turn.
There you go. See, just outlast
Can you ask
you.
a question in a different way?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for asking, though. Appreciate it. It was. Think about how you asked it. Play that in your head. Answer that then.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
There you go. That helped.
I think the things that you have to think about is one, as best as we can I make myself and allow myself to ask the question, what role do I play in it now?
So what was my part in the issue?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
And we've talked about reconciliation and all sorts of different things. And
great episode. Go
not
check it
to
out.
necessarily rehab that conversation, but in the lens of the confrontation that's about to happen,
Okay.
it is well worthwhile to process, did I play a part in it? I think it's always better if we can get to that point before we have the initial confrontation.
Speaking of, sorry to interrupt, but speaking of, you had mentioned our, confrontation, and talking about reconciliation. One of the other things I'd recommend for everybody, if you haven't checked it out, there's a series of episodes we did on trust versus suspicion, that gap. I think that's another one of those things. Not only do you ask your part, but in this gap that is created, something has occurred that I want to confront you on. Try and figure out, what am I filling that gap with? Am I trusting you? Do I trust who you are, what I know of you, or am I suspicious? I think that's a great resource as well. Go check those episodes out. So
yeah, for me, one of the most important things in good confrontation is this phrase, and whether I say it out loud or I just allow my heart to understand it through the lens of the confrontation, is I am for you.
Oh, that's a great one. I like that. Yeah.
That phrase, as a leader, in whatever capacity I'm currently leading, as a leader, if I go into the conversation or confrontation, with, I am for this person. The success, health, benefit of this person. Yeah. It changes my tone. It changes my approach, and everything shifts. And again, people receive and understand that I am here because I'm for you.
Right.
And it really does afford you the opportunity to say things that naturally would feel more harsh.
Okay.
But I think it's more deliverable and attainable when it is said and shared, as long as they really feel and hear that I am for you. I know you can do better.
Right.
Or this happened and we don't do this. This is not who we are.
Right.
I know you. This is not who you are.
Right.
And so, but I'm here for you, and I'm for you to succeed. And so, I wanted to bring this before you. I think that is, for me, one of the most important lenses that I can put on before walking into literally any confrontation.
Wow, it's so good.
It's
the
scalable
thought.
in every level.
Yeah. It reminds me, there was something you said there. It reminds me, Pastor Chris Hodges, we had seen him at a conference, and in that he was teaching something, and he talked about a challenge he had with his teenage son at the time. And his son had gotten into a lot of trouble, and he used a similar turn of phrase. It just hit me. And as a parent, as a leader, you think about it. And in that moment, he said, I see what you're doing, but that's not you. Yep. And it's so affirming. It's like, I see the circumstances. I'm not going to deny those, but I know you, and I believe in you, and there's better and there's good in you, and these are not reconciling at the moment. And that's what I want to talk about, is the fact that these aren't reconciling. Mm-hmm. And so, as I think about, as you approach this as a leader, what is it I need to say? What is it I need to be thinking about beforehand? I think it's a couple things in my mind just at the top level to begin processing is, am I doing this, am I confronting for my good or your good? Because if it's for my good, it's just, I want to get this off my chest.
That takes out the I'm for you part.
It does, because I'm for me right now. If it's about me and helping me feel better, as a matter of fact, you and I have talked about this a ton, is that in all honesty, starting a good, healthy piece of confrontation as the person initiating it, as the leader, even if you go, I am for you, and you feel great and aligned, you feel a little nervous about this.
Well, yeah.
Right. This does not feel good starting off. It feels uneasy, unsteady. If I'm doing it for me, I probably have a full head of steam. Oh, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah, and you don't even process that part.
No.
That's a good thing worth noting. Again, as much as you can, gain clarity before the confrontation. What's the purpose? What's the goal? What's the point? If it's for you, you need to drop it.
Yeah, that's unhealthy.
You don't bring that. You don't confront anybody else with that other than the Lord. Yep. And then the Lord's going to confront you about it.
It's going to be great.
You need to be confronted. You don't need to confront.
Right.
And so, that's a really good difference thought there.
Because, if I'm having this for you, well, and now if I'm honest, and now you're right, now I actually start processing, well, if this is for you, what do I want for you? And now that brings me to the part two. So if we've decided this is for you, not for me, then what is it I want? Do I want to rebuke and correct in the sense of, I need to get you on the straight and narrow, a pretty harsh sort of sound. If that's the point of it, then I'm probably not, in all honesty, while it may not be about me, kind of seems like it might still be, actually. I'm just kind of smuggling it in the back door. But let's pretend it's not. Then the real deal is that I'm really, to the word you use, I'm not for you. At that stage, if what my outcome is to set you on the straight and narrow, read you the riot act, and get you in good alignment and to correct and rebuke you, then that's not necessarily going to be a healthy confrontation then. If I start with, I am for you, and so what do I want? I need to help you set some good boundaries because you don't have some right now. I want you to grow. I see how you're behaving, but I know there's more in you. Mm-hmm. And I love that turn of phrase. Like I said in the previous episode, we had gone through the podcast from the table group, and the title was "That's Not Good Enough." Yeah. And our team was like, that phrase hit them in a rough spot. It was like a gut punch, and they were like, I do not like that phrase. But when you kind of flip it around, you're still saying the same thing. But with instead of starting with the negative, you lean towards the positive, which is, I see what's going on, and I know there's more in you. I'm affirming your goodness, and I want to lift that up. So I think when that's our intent, when we want them to grow, we want them to be better, then hopefully now as we're processing, what is it I should say? Yeah. Then it should be with that is my end goal in mind. It may not even be about these things. We'll have to talk about technical things, but my end goal is for you.
Yep. I think that's good. Yeah. So I think this is great conversation. So as you approach, again, we kind of talked well about the reality of bad confrontation.
Yep.
It stinks. It reeks. It's uncomfortable.
See it from a mile out.
Yeah. You know what that
Everyone
is going.
backs away when they hear one
like,
happening. Yeah.
But when approaching good confrontation, we're all leaders. We're all called to take part in good, healthy confrontation. Discover what's yours and what is for them, for the better, whatever situation. Again, that really is so scalable at any level of confrontation. I'm for you,
Love that phrase.
And so process through that lens. Let's have conversation in the chat.
Love that.
I'd encourage you to engage there so that we can keep talking about this together. But for today, that's what we know.
This has been another episode of the Beyond Sunday podcast. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.